Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Manoj Singh Rana and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. Government says 12 states and union territories showing early signs of reduction in COVID-19 cases. Over 338,000 people recover from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises healthcare workers and nurses for reducing vaccine wastage. Centre reviews availability of drugs for COVID treatment. Union Minister Sadanand Gowda says increased production capacity of Remdesivir will augment domestic availability of the injection. RBI announces on-tap liquidity window of 50,000 crore rupees to ramp up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure and services in the country. Cabinet approves allocation of additional food grains to beneficiaries of National Food Security Act for months of May and June. CCEA gives in-principle approval for strategic disinvestment and transfer of management control of IDBI Bank Limited. Himachal Pradesh government decides to impose curfew in entire state from 7th May to contain COVID-19 cases. TMC leader Mamata Banerjee takes oath as Chief Minister of West Bengal for third consecutive term. And DMK Chief MK Stalin stakes claim to form government in Tamil Nadu. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners to take all precautions and all those above 18 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. The vaccination for persons aged between 18 and 44 has begun at designated facilities. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. Now, the news in detail. The government has said that 12 states and union territories are showing early signs of reduction in COVID-19 cases. These states and union territories include Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Jharkhand and Ladakh. Briefing reporters in New Delhi, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Love Agrawal said around 2.4% day-on-day growth in COVID cases has been noticed.
पिछले 24 घंटे में 3,82,315 केस रिपोर्ट हुए हैं। इसी तरह से हम देखते हैं तो हम पाते हैं कि जो डेथ रिपोर्ट हुई हैं उसकी संख्या में भी थोड़ी वृद्धि नोटिस की गई है, जिसमें मुख्यतः महाराष्ट्र, कर्नाटक, आंध्र प्रदेश, दिल्ली और हरियाणा से अधिक केसेस रिपोर्ट हुए हैं। हम एनालाइज करें तो पाते हैं कि अगर एक्टिव केसेस की दृष्टि से देश में जो केसेस आए उनको एनालाइज करें तो 12 स्टेट ऐसी हैं जहां पर कि 1 लाख से अधिक एक्टिव केसेस हैं, 50,000 से 1 लाख एक्टिव केसेस 7 स्टेट्स में हैं और इसी तरह लेस देन 50,000 एक्टिव केसेस 17 स्टेट में हैं। इनमें भी देखें तो महाराष्ट्र, कर्नाटक, केरला, उत्तर प्रदेश और आंध्र प्रदेश में करीब 1.5 लाख से अधिक एक्टिव केस नोट किए गए हैं।
Principal Scientific Advisor K. Vijay Raghavan said vaccines are effective against current variants. He said new variants will arise all over the world and India too, but variants that increase transmission will likely plateau. He said this is a critical time and it is important for all of us to work together and ensure India and the world get out of this pandemic.
Phase 3 is inevitable given the high levels of circulating virus, but it's not clear on what time scale this phase 3 will occur. Hopefully incrementally, but we should prepare for new waves. Previous infections and vaccines will cause adaptive pressure on the virus for new kinds of changes which try to escape, and therefore we should be prepared by scientifically to take care of that.
The cumulative share of active COVID cases in the country has declined to comprise nearly 16.87% of the total reported cases. The Health Ministry has informed that currently over 34,87,000 people are reported to be suffering from the viral infection and are either hospitalized or under home isolation. In the last 24 hours, the nation registered 3,82,315 new COVID cases. With this, the recovery rate witnessed marginal improvement to stand at 82.03%. Since yesterday, over 3,38,000 people have been discharged from hospitals or are reported to have been completely cured. So far, over 1,69,00,000 people have recovered from the COVID-19 infection in the country. 10 states including Maharashtra, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Kerala continue to be the major hotspots of the viral pandemic. The centre has provided over 17 crore 2 lakh free vaccine doses to the states and union territories so far. Out of this, nearly 16 crore 8 lakh doses have been used by them, which also include some wastages. The Union Health Ministry has informed that the states and union territories still have more than 94 lakh 47,000 doses available with them to be administered. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said it is good to see healthcare workers and nurses set an example in reducing vaccine wastage. Quoting a tweet of Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, Mr. Modi said reducing vaccine wastage is important in strengthening the fight against COVID-19. The Kerala Chief Minister had said in a tweet yesterday that his state has received 73,38,806 doses of vaccine from the centre and is even making use of the extra dose available as wastage factor in each vial.
The Railways has so far delivered 2,067 tons of liquid medical oxygen in 137 tankers to various states across the country. The Railways Ministry said 34 oxygen expresses have already completed their journey. The Ministry said the Railways is continuing its journey of bringing relief by delivering liquid medical oxygen to various states. The Ministry said so far the Railways has delivered 174 tons of liquid medical oxygen to Maharashtra, 641 tons to Uttar Pradesh, 190 tons to Madhya Pradesh, 707 tons to Delhi, 229 tons to Haryana and 123 tons to Telangana. Minister of State for Ports, Shipping and Waterways Mansukh Mandavia has said that INS Talwar with 40-ton liquid medical oxygen has reached the new Mangalore port in Karnataka. 40 tons of liquid medical oxygen filled in cryogenic containers was donated by Bahrain. In a tweet, Mr. Mandavia said the new Mangalore port is handling the oxygen cargo on a priority basis. The government has reviewed the existing procedure of registration and approval of global manufacturers for importing oxygen cylinders and cryogenic tankers containers by Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization (PESO). Commerce and Industry Ministry said in view of the COVID pandemic, PESO will not carry out physical inspection of global manufacturers' production facilities before grant of such registration and approval.
Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister D.V. Sadanand Gowda has said that a total of 34,50,000 vials of remdesivir has been allocated to states and union territories since 21st of last month. He said the allocation to states is a dynamic process and efforts will be made to further enhance supply in the coming weeks. Mr. Gowda today chaired a meeting to review availability of drugs for COVID treatment and other essential drugs. During the meeting, Mr. Gowda appreciated the efforts of all 7 manufacturers of remdesivir for increasing the production capacity to 1 crore 3 lakh vials per month from 38 lakh vials per month. He said this increased capacity will augment domestic availability of the injection. The minister stressed the need to continuously monitor availability of other essential medicines and to check instances of black marketing and hoarding. The Ministry of Civil Aviation has granted conditional exemption to 20 entities to conduct Beyond Visual Line of Sight BVLOS experimental flight of drones. The preliminary permission grant is envisioned to assist the supplementary framework development of subsequent unmanned aerial vehicle rules pertaining to BVLOS drone operations. Our correspondent reports that BVLOS trials will help create framework for future drone deliveries and other major applications using.
The recovery rate of COVID patients in the national capital witnessed considerable improvement today to stand at 91.23%. The COVID positivity rate has also declined in Delhi to 26.73%. The city recorded a recovery of 18,788 patients in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of recovered patients till date to 11,24,771. The Defence Research and Development Organization (DRDO) has stepped up its efforts for manufacturing of several medical equipment like ventilators, micro-oxygen cylinders and oxygen concentrators to provide relief to the COVID patients. In an exclusive interview to AIR News, DRDO Chairman Dr. G. Satish Reddy said, the DRDO is continuously engaged in the production of 150,000 mini oxygen cylinders for the household needs. He said these micro cylinders would be available by the next week at an affordable cost.
It is actually the manual regulator costs anything between 10 to 13,000 rupees, and the automatic electronic control based system will cost about 30,000 rupees. So the first one is very affordable configuration.
The chairman of the DRDO said the Bharat Electronics Limited is engaged in manufacturing of 5,000 oxygen concentrators, which would be available from next month.
As you know, that ventilator project was taken as a mission mode project last year. The country was not having ventilators capability. Within a short span of about 1.5 months, we developed the ventilators completely.
Terming the supply of oxygen a crucial element in the fight against COVID pandemic, Mr. Reddy said the DRDO has started setting up the oxygen plants in the hospitals.
These oxygen plants are 1,000 liters per minute. Every minute they will produce 1,000 liters, and their continuous operation, they will be operating continuously without any break as long as power is there. And so they will be able to supply this quantity, which is actually can be for a normal person who needs only 5 liters per minute, close to about 190 to 200 people can have this type of a oxygen facility.
Mr. Reddy said the DRDO is working to set up more than 500 oxygen plants in the upcoming 3 months. He said the DRDO is setting up several COVID-specific hospitals in various parts of the country to provide better healthcare facilities to COVID patients.
The first plants are already rolled out, and the first 2 plants have already landed in Delhi yesterday. They have started installing those equipment in All India Institute of Medical Sciences and RML, and tomorrow they should be operational. And so now onwards is a continuous process. We start increasing these numbers and going to various states and providing the facilities there.
This full interview can be heard tonight on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:15 p.m. onwards in the Spotlight program. The program will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates.
In view of sharp increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in Himachal Pradesh, the state government has decided to impose curfew in the entire state from 7th of this month. More from our Shimla correspondent.
The decision to impose curfew in the state was taken in a cabinet meeting held under the chairmanship of Chief Minister Jairam Thakur in Shimla today. The statewide curfew will be in place from day after tomorrow till midnight of 16th of this month. During this period, only emergency services personnel and those associated with essential services will be allowed to operate. On the other hand, all government and private transport would ply with 50% of occupancy and interstate transport would continue. Industrial establishment would work as per the guidelines issued by the state government. In the wake of sharp surge of COVID-19 cases, the state cabinet has decided to cancel the class 10th examination of Himachal board and to promote the students to 11th class on CBSE pattern, whereas 12th standard examinations of Himachal board and annual exams of state colleges would remain suspended till further orders. Sanjeev Sundariyal, AIR News, Shimla.
A 500-bedded COVID hospital started operating for patients in Uttar Pradesh today. The Atal Bihari Vajpayee COVID Hospital was inaugurated by Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in Lucknow. More from our correspondent.
The Atal Bihari Vajpayee Hospital, developed by Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO at Awadh Shilpgram in Lucknow in record time, is being run by a team from armed forces comprising of doctors of many specialities along with nurses and paramedical staff. The medical staff has been flown in from all across the country. It is equipped with a 20 kiloliter oxygen tank for uninterrupted supply besides dedicated power backup. There will be no charges for facilities available in the hospital. Food will also be provided to patients free of charge. Oxygen and medical supplies which will also be given free of charge. The admission to the hospital will be controlled through an integrated control center at Lucknow established by state authorities, and it does not cater to walk-in patients and admissions. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Odisha, a 14-day statewide lockdown came into effect in the state from today. However, certain essential services and activities, including those related to agriculture, have been exempted from the lockdown. We have a report.
The first day of the 14 days long lockdown today was observed by the people more in a conscious adherence to the preventive protocol. However, the state enforcement agencies, including the police, are equally vigilant against the violators. Meanwhile, the state reported a high of about 10,000 new cases today, thereby spiking its active caseload to more than 77,000. The silver lining, though, is the recovery of more than 6,000 COVID patients during the last 24 hours. That is more than half the number of fresh infections reported today. Girish Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government says 12 states and union territories showing early signs of reduction in COVID-19 cases. Over 338,000 people recover from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises healthcare workers and nurses for reducing vaccine wastage. Centre reviews availability of drugs for COVID treatment. Union Minister Sadanand Gowda says increased production capacity of Remdesivir will augment domestic availability of injection. RBI announces on-tap liquidity window of 50,000 crore rupees to ramp up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure and services in the country. Cabinet approves the allocation of additional food grains to beneficiaries of National Food Security Act for months of May and June. CCEA gives in-principle approval for strategic disinvestment and transfer of management control of IDBI Bank Limited. Himachal Pradesh government decides to impose curfew in entire state from 7th of May to contain COVID-19 cases. TMC leader Mamata Banerjee takes oath as the Chief Minister of West Bengal for third consecutive term. DMK Chief M.K. Stalin takes claim to form government in Tamil Nadu. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back to the evening news. The Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, today gave its approval for allocation of additional food grains to all beneficiaries of the National Food Security Act for 2 additional months of May and June this year. The announcement towards allocation of additional food grains under the third phase of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana for another period of 2 months was made by the centre last month. The Cabinet today gave its ex post facto approval to this decision, under which 5 kilograms of rice or wheat per person per month will be given to about 80 crore beneficiaries in the country. The relief measure announced by the centre to ensure proper nutrition and food to every person will cost nearly 26,000 crore to it in terms of food subsidy. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs CCEA today gave an in-principle approval for strategic disinvestment along with transfer of management control in IDBI Bank Limited. LIC is currently the promoter of IDBI Bank with management control, and the Government of India is the co-promoter. The extent of shareholding to be divested by the Government of India and LIC shall be decided at the time of structuring of transaction in consultation with the RBI. The Government of India and LIC together own more than 94% of equity of IDBI Bank. The Government of India owns 45.48% and LIC 49.24%.
RBI Governor Shaktikant Das has said that the bank will continue to monitor the emerging situation and deploy all resources and instruments at its command in the service of the nation. He said that the devastating speed with which the virus affects different regions of the country has to be matched by swift-footed and wide-ranging actions. These actions must be calibrated, sequenced and well-timed to reach out to various sections of the society and business, right down to the smallest and the most vulnerable. Addressing through various social media platforms this morning, the RBI Governor said that on the basis of continued assessment of the macroeconomic situation and financial market conditions, it proposes for term liquidity facility of 50,000 crore rupees to ease access to emergency health services. Further, to boost provision of immediate liquidity for ramping up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure and services in the country, an on-tap liquidity window of 50,000 crore rupees with tenors of up to 3 years at the repo rate is being opened till 31st of March 2022.
To boost provision of immediate liquidity for ramping up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure and services in the country, an on-tap liquidity window of rupees 50,000 crores with tenor of up to 3 years at the repo rate is being opened till March 31st, 2022. Under the scheme, banks can provide fresh lending support to a wide ranging of entities including vaccine manufacturers, importers and suppliers of vaccine and priority medical devices, hospitals and dispensaries, pathology labs, manufacturers and suppliers of oxygen and ventilators.
DMK Chief M.K. Stalin today met the State Governor Banwari Lal Purohit and staked his claim to form the next government. After getting elected by 133 newly elected members of the Legislative Assembly, Stalin submitted letters of support to the Governor. Speaking to the media, the party's organizing secretary, R.S. Bharti, said that the next move by the Governor is expected later in the day. The DMK is all set to form the new government on the 7th of this month. In Kerala, the discussions and negotiations in the Left Democratic Front are in full swing for the formation of the second cabinet of the Pinarayi Vijayan government. The swearing-in of the new government in the state will take place only after the Left Democratic Front meeting on the 17th of this month. Bilateral talks with the constituent parties regarding the composition of the new cabinet will begin from tomorrow. After the LDF meeting on the 17th, the CPM State Secretariat and the CPM State Committee will convene meetings on the morning of the 18th.
In West Bengal, TMC Chief Mamata Banerjee was sworn in as the Chief Minister of the state for the third consecutive term today. Governor Jagdeep Dhankar administered her oath of office and secrecy at a simple ceremony held at the Raj Bhavan in Kolkata. The swearing-in of the newly elected MLAs will be held in the Assembly House in 2 phases tomorrow and the day after. The oath-taking ceremony at the Raj Bhavan was held following COVID protocol. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Mamata Banerjee on taking oath as West Bengal's Chief Minister. Earlier today, the TMC Chief Mamata Banerjee took oath to the office of Chief Minister of West Bengal. Ms. Banerjee has become the second woman in the country to be sworn in as Chief Minister of any state consecutively for 3 terms after former Chief Minister of Delhi, Sheila Dikshit.
The Election Commission today decided to defer by-elections of parliamentary and assembly constituencies in various states and union territories in view of COVID-19 pandemic. The poll body reviewed the matter today and decided that due to outbreak of the second wave of COVID-19 in the country, it would not be appropriate to hold by-elections till the pandemic situation significantly improves and conditions become conducive to hold the by-elections. The Commission will take a decision in the matter at appropriate time in the future after taking inputs from the concerned states and assessing the pandemic situation from mandated authorities like NDMA and SDMA. The 3 vacant parliamentary constituencies include Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Khandwa in Madhya Pradesh and Mandi in Himachal Pradesh, whereas 8 vacant assembly constituencies include Kalka and Erinabad in Haryana, Vallabhnagar in Rajasthan, Sindhgi in Karnataka, Rajbala and Moringkeng in Meghalaya, Fatehpur in Himachal Pradesh and Badvel in Andhra Pradesh.
Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari has stressed on the need to adopt modern concepts of tunnelling in India so that the big capital cost involved can be reduced. He said that by developing smart cities, roadway amenities and other facilities near tunnels, revenue generation can be increased. The minister was addressing an international webinar on road tunnel recent trends, innovation and way forward through video conferencing today. Mr. Gadkari urged the stakeholders to come out with cost-effective and modern technologies for tunnelling to reduce capital expenditure without compromising on safety aspects.
The Ministry of Labour and Employment has notified Section 142 of the Social Security Code 2020, which covers applicability of Aadhaar. The notification will enable the Ministry to collect Aadhaar details for the database of beneficiaries under various social security schemes. Union Minister for Labour and Employment Santosh Gangwar has clarified that the section under the Social Security Code has been notified only for collection of data of workers, including migrant workers. He said no benefit will be denied to workers for the want of Aadhaar.
At the domestic stock market, key indices posted solid gains and the rupee weakened slightly against the US dollar. In the international markets, global crude oil futures rose for the third straight day. Today, a report.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange climbed 424 points or 0.9% to close at 48,678. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange advanced 121 points or 0.8% to 14,618. Global crude oil prices rose for the third day today. Brent crude futures climbed 93 cents to trade at $69.81 a barrel. Gold declined 317 rupees to 46,382 rupees per 10 grams in Delhi today. But silver shot up 2,328 rupees to 72,598 rupees per kilo. Arjun Chowdhury, AIR News.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today virtually participated in the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson interacted with the participating foreign ministers in between the sessions. Dr. Jaishankar assured the British Prime Minister that Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab and he will take forward the 2030 roadmap. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar said India and the UK are committed to delivering on the Modi-Johnson vision of the ties. In the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting, India has been invited as a guest country.
Bulgarian President Rumen Radev has announced that snap parliament election will be held on 11th of July. Mr. Radev said next week he will dissolve the parliament and appoint an interim government. He linked the setting of the date for the new election with the appointment of a new Central Electoral Commission that is expected to be finalized on 11th of this month. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi is likely to have thunderstorm with rain. The temperature will hover between 24 and 38 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature will be 26 and the maximum is expected to be around 34. Chennai is expected to have partly cloudy sky. The temperature will vary between 27 and 36 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have rain or thunder showers with strong gusty winds. The city will observe a minimum temperature of 25 and maximum around 33. Srinagar will have thunderstorm with rain. Temperature will hover between 12 and 22 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have partly cloudy sky, becoming generally cloudy towards afternoon or evening or night. The minimum temperature will be 22 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 35. Leh is expected to have partly cloudy sky, while the minimum and maximum temperature will be between 4 and 20 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have generally cloudy sky. The temperature will hover between 17 and 32 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad is also likely to have thunderstorm with rain. The minimum temperature will be 17 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 30 degrees. Dehradun will witness thunderstorm with rain. The minimum temperature will be 21 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be 37 degrees. Chandigarh will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers with temperature likely to hover between 23 and 35 degrees Celsius. Hyderabad is likely to have rain or thunder showers and minimum temperature will be 25 and maximum will be around 36. Ahmedabad will have clear sky. The minimum temperature will be 27 degrees Celsius and the maximum will be around 41. Patna will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will be 23 and maximum will be around 35. And Guwahati will have generally cloudy sky with few spells of rain or thunder showers. The minimum temperature will be around 20 and the maximum will be around 29.
The Assam government has decided to close all educational institutes from tomorrow in the state till further order in view of rise in COVID cases. Coaching institutes and hostels will also remain closed in this period. However, online mode of education will continue. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government says 12 states and union territories showing early signs of reduction in COVID-19 cases. Over 338,000 people recover from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises healthcare workers and nurses for reducing vaccine wastage. Centre reviews availability of drugs for COVID treatment. Union Minister Sadanand Gowda says increased production capacity of Remdesivir will augment domestic availability of injections. RBI announces on-tap liquidity window of 50,000 crore rupees to ramp up COVID-related healthcare infrastructure and services in the country. Cabinet approves allocation of additional food grains to beneficiaries of National Food Security Act for months of May and June. CCEA gives in-principle approval for strategic disinvestment and transfer of management control of IDBI Bank Limited. Himachal Pradesh government decides to impose curfew in entire state from 7th May to contain COVID-19 cases. TMC leader Mamata Banerjee takes oath as Chief Minister of West Bengal for third consecutive term. And DMK Chief MK Stalin stakes claim to form government in Tamil Nadu. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.